Hey everyone, I'm working ahead on your final weeks of the term, which includes you delivering a tribute speech. A tribute speech is a speech done to, as the name implies, pay tribute to someone who has been important in your life. Most people choose to do this speech honoring someone who has had a positive impact on their lives. However, some people will choose to take a slightly different route. You can pay tribute to someone who taught you how to be a good person by being a bad person. We learn lessons by people who hurt us as well. Occasionally, students will choose to pay tribute to a famous person. You are welcome to do that, but it will require outside research and citations, and it's a little less effective just in its personal touch since you don't personally know the person. So rack your brains for someone who's been important to you, whether that was someone you've known your entire life, someone who is still living, or someone who has passed on. It could also be a relatively brief moment where someone did something for you that changed the course of your life for the better. So brainstorm who those people might be. I wanted to talk you through tribute speaking and review a little bit about what it means to use figurative language. In a tribute speech, because we are paying homage to someone who is important to us, we want to use language that's beautiful and that amplifies the situation. And by using extraordinary figures of language, we help to make the moment more special. We are more considerate when we write it. We are almost poetic in the way that we write it because we want people to feel the admiration that we have for the people we're paying tribute to, and these types of speeches tend to bond us as people. It is the moments when we are celebrating weddings and baby showers or even eulogizing someone who's just died that tend to bring us together, and it is those shared values that we celebrate, and that is what this speech is intended to do. So as I mentioned, it is a ceremonial act. You will probably give more tribute speeches in your life than you will many of the other types of speeches that you do, depending on your profession. But you are likely to be called upon to do them more than you think you might. Again, weddings, funerals, baby showers, bridal showers, bachelor parties. You know, there are moments in life when you're asked to toast someone and say a few kind words. In doing so, you want to have a little bit more style in the diction or the word choice that you use to celebrate the person. When you wrote your persuasive speeches, you were asked to use research, and you were asked to support your stance by using the voices or opinions of others. This speech is entirely your own if you're doing it for someone that is close to you personally. And as such, you know the person best. You know the inside jokes, the stories, maybe the moments that other people don't see. So you want to use those to your advantage. And some ways to do that include using figurative language. A very common type of figurative language is the simile. A simile is a type that is used in song lyrics and in poetry all the time. And the way to remember a simile is that it always uses like or as to compare two different things. So Alice is as pretty as a rose. So if you're trying to equate someone or their characteristics to something beautiful, you want to start to brainstorm things that you feel are beautiful. And you want to try to avoid the cliche, and you will hear me say this frequently. The cliche are those phrases that we already know, we default to them, and everybody uses them. They're fine in conversation, but the people you're paying tribute to deserve a little bit more work than a cliche. So try to go further than just the first thing that pops in your mind or the first thing you've heard. Similar to a simile is a metaphor. Metaphors and similes are often used interchangeably to mean the same thing, but they're slightly different. A simile uses like or as. A metaphor is a direct comparison that completely removes the like or as. So rather than time moves quickly like a thief, for a simile, in this example here we say time is a thief. We've gotten rid of the like or the as, and we've compared it directly. And so they are a little bit more difficult to construct, in my personal opinion. Another type of figurative language is personification. Personification gives human-like qualities or characteristics to things that are not living. So you can't personify people because we are humans, but you can personify inanimate objects like cars or appliances or furniture. So the flowers danced in the breeze, the wind threw branches to the ground. Obviously, flowers can't dance, wind can't throw things. We are personifying those verbs, but it paints a more interesting and vivid picture in our brains to use those types of personification. Repetition is often used in all types of speeches, but it's also effective for giving tributes. So in this example, a poem by T.S. Eliot, you have "Because I Do Not Hope" repeated 3 times. It reinforces an idea, and it starts to become a thing that your audience expects, just like when you're reading to a child and they get to that refrain or that line that they know is coming. And when you look at the examples that I've posted on Blackboard, you will probably see that use of repetition. Alliteration. So when we rhyme the end of words: bat, cat, sat, hat. And that is very common for poetry. But alliteration is a similar type of rhyme or sound that is the same at the beginning of the word. So whereas rhyme happens at the end, alliteration happens at the beginning. So in this example, all of the S's are used repeatedly. So his soul swooned slowly as he heard the snow falling faintly. We have sa, 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 sa. We like those repeated consonant sounds. We like those beginnings that sound familiar. They're pleasant and trippy, and they lull us in some ways, and they are, like repetition, maybe one of the easier types of figurative language to use. Oxymorons, if you take this word in and of itself, it is an oxymoron. It means you have 2 opposites in one, and the examples here: tragic comedy, or I've seen one referencing civil war. War is hard and people are killed, and civilness or civility is, politeness and following manners and order. So when you put those 2 together, it becomes an oxymoron, as you see on this screen. You might know someone who is an oxymoron in and of their personality. Sometimes the things that they do don't fit the things that they say, or vice versa. We have these qualities inherently, some of us, and some of them stand out more for others. Now, I had mentioned cliches before. Cliches are the worn out, tired phrases that you've used or heard before. Sorry about that. And they are things that you can reference automatically. So in the nick of time, blind as a bat, like a bull in the china shop, calm before the storm, plenty of fish in the sea, straw that broke the camel's back, when the cat's away, the mice will play. These roll off of our tongues because we are so familiar with them. I'm going to post this PowerPoint to Blackboard and let you look through it, because I've given you a few more slides on it, and I've given you some tips on how to speak from a manuscript, which is different than what you've been doing for the previous speeches. In your previous speeches, I asked you to sorry for the interruption. It's the end of the day. My husband and I are carpooling, and he was texting me and calling me, and I wasn't looking at my phone. So I'm going to finish this so I can have it all together for you. Speaking from a manuscript is different than what you've been doing with extemporaneous speaking. I've been drilling into you. Don't read your notes. Don't read to us. Don't. In this final speech, you do get to read, though I don't want you to present as though you are reading. So you will have the entire manuscript in front of you. You will be able to read from it, but you should have practiced enough that you're very, very familiar with the script. You don't have to memorize it, but you should know what's coming next. Because if you just sit here and read it and you look down and it sounds like you're a robot, you're going to get deducted points. Remember that this speech is to make us feel something, to move us, to have a remembrance of somebody who's been important in our lives. It's a special kind of occasion speech, so you want to deliver it in a more emotional way. You don't need to intend to make us cry or laugh, but Those are sometimes natural outcomes of this type of speech. It is my favorite type of speech that my students do, partly because you're not required to do research, and we get to end on a positive note of thinking and talking about people who are important and the lessons they've taught us. And so you want to really do it well, and I'd encourage you, if you would consider it, to write this to somebody as a gift. I wrote the example that I will show you to my husband because I wanted to give him a birthday present. And I thought, well, this would be a good opportunity for me to actually sit down and think about all the ways that I am appreciative of what he's given to me in my life. And it is a nice gift to give someone. We're coming up on Mother's Day. We're coming up on graduation. Maybe you have birthdays or anniversaries that you can celebrate. Think about how the words that you say about the importance someone has played in your life can mean to that person. They're better than jewelry or big fancy presents, in my opinion. So keep those things in mind. I will post both this video and this PowerPoint for you to see, and I will post my own example of the speech that I referenced to my husband so that you can see and hear me talk about it and what I'm looking for. All right, sorry for the interruptions towards the end of that there, but I wanted to get this up and posted before I left for the day. So take care and start brainstorming who you want to pay tribute to. Thanks.